by one of the worship leaders in Jerusalem. We know David was a worshiper. I mean, we have proof of that. We've got the Psalms. Most of them are his. Was he a prophet? Well, not really. We don't think he was a prophet. He was a king. He loved God. Have you read Psalm 22? What's the first verse? My God, why have you forsaken me? It's what Jesus yells from the cross. And if you read that verse, it is a first-person account of what it feels like to be crucified and to see what's happening. They have pierced my hands and my feet, and they are gambling for my cloak. David wrote this 28 generations before it happened. How on earth did he know this? It was the crucifixion described in first person before the torture was even invented. So consider this. David, deep in worship, before his God, got so close that he could see through the Son's eyes on the cross. That's what happens when you enter the throne room and you start listening. You get Psalm 22. You get Psalm 16. You know, and the Psalms are very prophetic. But that's what happens. You start to see everything from God's perspective. Okay. So you've been passionate, you've praised Him, you've gotten in His presence, and now you can hear Him. What do you do? What do you do from here? Don't freak out. Proclamation and prayer. 1 Peter 2. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood. There it is again. Royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of Him who called you out of darkness into His wonderful light. We are to declare the praise of God, much like the angels and the 24 elders in Revelation 5. And that's a lot. Just proclaiming His praises brings heaven to earth. You know, what did Jesus say? The disciples said, Lord, teach us to pray. And we get what we call the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This prayer was an outline, not a script. We need to pray out what we hear in the throne room and to intercede. And that just means to stand in the gap, to pray for others who cannot pray for themselves. Be prepared. You may only hear the angels crying, holy, holy, holy. And that is enough to echo their song on earth. And many times in the prayer room, just because, you know, all of us are called to pray out different things. The Lord told me a year ago that this was my thing to proclaim. Holy, holy, holy. Sometimes I go for 2 hours just singing all the holy, holy, holy songs I knew and letting the Spirit give me new ones. That is enough. You're bringing heaven to earth when you do that. The cherubims do this all the time. And so for you to echo them, you are bringing the throne room to earth. But be prepared. You may hear so much more. Don't be afraid if the Lord starts revealing so much more to you. This is where the intimacy comes in. You need to know Him and trust Him. Test the spirits, 1 John 4. And when you know, when you are sure and you have the peace that it is Him, do what He is asking you to do, whether it's just to proclaim it, to go pray for your neighbor because they're sick and He tells you exactly what's wrong with them, to give the guy in the corner more than 1 pound because the Lord said, no, it's okay, you can trust him, or you can trust me. You know, what he does with it is his business, but I'm asking you to do this. You know, this is right here. You're getting even closer and closer to the Lord, and this is where trust comes in. And you need to trust him because he has called you friend. So from here, when you start proclaiming and you start praying you start seeing the heart of God. That's the other thing. Sometimes you won't just hear. You'll sense what he's sensing. And I know some of us, that's easy. Just because that's our calling, that's our gifting. And right away we feel his burning for the hurting, for the lost. Act on that. Pray on that. Intercede. And as you enter into intercession and into proclamation, and you align your heart with God, with God's heart, he gives you power. And this is where it gets good. Behold, not that it wasn't good before, but this is, for action-oriented people, this is where we start seeing fruit. Behold, I give you power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Notwithstanding, in this rejoice not, that the spirits are subject to you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. Luke 10. And what I love about this verse is Jesus is talking about power. The disciples had just come back. He gave them power. They went and are like astonished that the demons are listening to them and fleeing because they're praying in the name of Yeshua. And they're coming back. Oh, I can't believe what just happened. And they're telling the testimonies of the amazing things they just saw. And Jesus says, that's cool. But that's not the important part. What's the important part? That your names are written in heaven. What is this he alluding to here? He's alluding to relationship. That our names are written in heaven is the important thing. That we have fellowship with God. We're back at number 1 here. Number 1 and number 2. We're doing the fellowship. He's going to give us power. And what happens, people who have gotten this far get tripped up on 6 and 7. And you'll see 7 shortly. This is why passion, a deep, devoted, passionate love for God is paramount. Because you won't care about the power. You won't care about the provision that's coming. That's what we're going to talk about shortly. Because it's about the relationship. The rest is just gravy. What does it say in Matthew 6? Seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you. Because before he says, don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, where you're going to sleep. Because I've got that covered. Seek the kingdom first. And ultimately, if you study that out, it really means seek his face first. Rejoice because your names are written in heaven. One more power verse. Matthew 28. I'm going to read you a condensed version. Then the disciples, when they saw him, they worshipped him. This is after the crucifixion, after the resurrection. Jesus shows up, and they run to him and they worship him. Look at the progression here. They worship him. And Jesus, after this, Jesus came and spake to them and said, all power is given unto me in heaven and on earth. Go ye therefore and teach all the nations. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the age. So what's the progression? They worshipped. He gives them power to fulfill the commission. And he reminds them of relationship. I am with you always. To the end of the age. He is always with us. And that's what we need to focus on. Not that we can heal the sick, because we can. Not because